something was laying here. Something big was laying right there.
Are you kidding me?
These Bigfoot encounters captured something difficult to explain: a towering figure crossing a steep mountainside and another walking upright through the Oregon woods. Watch closely because the smallest details may reveal what these witnesses actually saw. On April 25, 2026, the YouTube channel Tregs Travels posted an outdoor fishing account from Utah's isolated Uinta Mountains. The channel centers on fishing trips and outdoor exploration, and this outing started as nothing more than a break in nature. However, the experience that followed would become something he would never forget. In 2021, the narrator had been dealing with stress when his friend Breck suggested a fishing trip into the Uinta Mountains. Accompanied by their dog Cosmo, the pair hiked roughly 5 miles across rocky ground and dense forest, before reaching a secluded alpine lake.
We crossed over kind of this boulder field for a while, and then we had to drop down, like I said, into where the lake was. Go along the side of the lake with a big rock slide. There's quite a bit of open space for fishing water there, so we kind of just walked along. When we got to the lake, we could see something red from the lake. It looked like a tent material, so we thought maybe somebody was camping across.
Eventually, they arrived at a clear mountain lake. An exposed rock slide bordered one side, while the opposite shoreline was flatter and surrounded by dense woods. They selected the open rocky section to fish from. Not long after arriving, they spotted a small red object across the lake. At that distance, it resembled part of a tent, so they paid little attention to it.
We set up at the lake, we start fishing, and it's just one of those days that you dream about. Like I said, this was a new species of fish for us, and so we were just so excited to be there. Fish after fish after fish, and the Arctic grayling were long and slender and a big dorsal fin and looked like mermaids when they moved through the water. It was really cool. It was really, honestly, there gets to be a point where it's just like almost unreal. And so we're just catching fish. I think it was just kind of like the relief of being outside and being in nature, and then just the fun of catching the fish. And I had brought my GoPros along. I generally like to film, and I know I'm gonna get a little bit of flack, but I had just turned and we were still just kind of fishing. My buddy, and then his dog was kind of between us. His dog just kind of kept going back and forth. And all of a sudden, there was like this boulder. It was so much bigger than any type of rock that I could have like picked up and thrown myself, but it comes from the flat side across the lake from us.
Both men soon started catching fish and grew excited, enjoying themselves and making plenty of noise. Then the atmosphere shifted. Suddenly, a large rock came flying from the wooded side of the lake and slammed into the water close to them. Rather than seeming accidental, it appeared almost like a warning for them to quiet down. Neither man knew who or what had thrown it, so they carefully watched the opposite shoreline, yet nothing emerged. Cosmo also became uneasy and continued staring toward that same location. The pair chose to look into the situation. They recalled the red object seen earlier and wondered whether campers on the far shore might have been responsible for the warning.
Over there, we took our fly rods with us, and we just kind of walked our way around to that side. Like, you could see everything that was around you. When you got over there, the trees were fairly dense, and I couldn't see really anything that was going on around us as we walked around that side of the lake. Just kind of unsettled, pretty unsettled. He was acting really strange and didn't really want to be on that side of the lake either. So we kind of walked around, again, very dense trees. I couldn't really see, felt like I was just on high alert. I didn't know if a bear or something was, I don't know. Dude, I really didn't know what was going on. Where we saw the red when we got there, and it wasn't really what either of us were expecting. When we walked over, there was a men's t-shirt, kind of like a men's tank top, and then a woman's tank top, like a Nike, a balled up roll of socks. There was a gallon jug of water, and we didn't see anybody. There wasn't a tent, there wasn't a camp set up, we didn't see any people.
Although they felt uneasy, they decided to circle the lake and check the area. When they reached the red object, they found neither a tent nor a camper. Instead, several belongings were scattered across the ground. Among them were a men's tank top, a red women's Nike dry fit shirt, rolled up socks, and a full 1-gallon water container. there was no clear indication that anyone was nearby.
We decided we were going to work our way back around to the rock slide so that we could at least see. I didn't like being on that side because I felt like somebody talked for a little bit. We didn't see or hear anything else weird, and so we actually decided to keep fishing for a little bit for a few more hours, and we had fun. We had a good time. There was eventually, like maybe an hour or two later, like a mom and a son that came up to the lake, and they were trail runners. They had just barely got there. So they kind of went past us and then headed off back down the trail. But that was it. Those were the only other people that we saw.
Feeling uncomfortable, they returned to the open side of the lake. Eventually, Breck and the narrator gathered their gear and completed the hike back to their vehicle without experiencing anything else unusual. Only the following day did he understand how close the encounter may have brought him to something dangerous. The apparent warning of a thrown rock resembled reports frequently linked to Bigfoot, particularly in the same region he had visited, an area called Bigfoot Basin. A concealed person might account for the rock, while natural activity could explain certain sounds. Still, the rock's apparent size, Cosmo's behavior, and the abandoned items together make the incident more difficult to dismiss. Was someone hiding on the opposite shore, or was something else trying to warn them away? On September 13, 2024, D of D's Dark Adventures, a channel focused on disturbing investigations, visited an isolated farmhouse surrounded by a massive cornfield. The family had reached out after experiencing several unsettling events, including mysterious voices movement within the corn, and strangely aggressive reactions from dogs that were usually calm. Hoping to understand what might be occurring, Dee started investigating the property after dark. The cornfield appeared to extend deep into the night. Towering stalks created thick walls along narrow pathways, making the area feel almost like a maze. The surroundings were remarkably quiet, apart from occasional rustling somewhere within the crops. The property's isolation added to the discomfort, while the darkness restricted how far Dee could see. With the flashlight and her investigation equipment, Dee cautiously stepped into the field. As she moved farther from the farmhouse, she noticed the first strange detail.
Okay, something laid out a pile of corn here. I mean, I don't see deer carrying a bulk in their mouth and bringing it here, but it's a little bulk for what I'm trying to say it is, I guess. Ooh! Get one of my new lights, check this out. The one's already turned on, dang. Hold on, sorry guys. Look at that. What was that? I'm hearing a howling. It's not those dogs. It's coming from that way. Those dogs can't go that far. They're on a restraint thingy. Okay.
Small clusters of corn had been placed across the ground in what seemed to be a deliberate pattern. Dee paused to inspect them, but there was no clear explanation for how they had appeared there or what had arranged them. The sight immediately made the field feel even more disturbing. Soon afterward, faint sounds started coming from somewhere within the corn.
Airplane.
At first, they resembled normal movement that could easily have been caused by leaves, branches, or animals. But as Dee ventured farther into the field, the noises became increasingly difficult to dismiss. A sharp chirping sound began echoing through the stalks. It became more noticeable and appeared to come from multiple directions, giving Dee the impression that something could be moving around her. Dee grew increasingly uncomfortable. While moving her flashlight across the field, she briefly saw a dark form shifting between the tall stalks.
Oh my god! What I just saw, I don't know what I just fucking saw, dude. Screw that, screw that, screw that. What was that? Dude. What was that? I can't do this. No, I can't do this, guys. That dog. hear whistling.
They were difficult to make out clearly and disappeared almost instantly whenever she aimed the light toward them. Whenever the shapes vanished, only the sound of rustling corn remained. Then Dee discovered another unsettling detail. Several parts of the field had been pressed down, creating flattened patches where something seemed to have passed through the corn. One area appeared as though something large had been resting there. Trails of disturbed plants continued deeper into the darkness.
I don't want to damage any property. Look, something was laying here. Something big was laying right there.
The discovery created an obvious question. Had an animal caused? It was another person somewhere in the field? Or was something completely different traveling through the corn? As Dee continued the investigation, the noises became more intense. The earlier chirping was soon accompanied by harsher sounds. Cornstalks broke, leaves shifted, and cracking noises appeared to come from multiple directions. With visibility extremely poor, Dee could not determine what was producing them. The thick corn made seeing more than a short distance nearly impossible, while the ongoing movement increasingly gave Dee the sense that something nearby might be watching her.
More deer droppings. Oh, I messed up my light, guys. Hang on. Hold on, I'm sorry. Technical difficulty. This dude, I'm done. I can't. No. No, 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 no. No.
Eventually, the situation became too unsettling to continue. The sounds grew less predictable, while movement throughout the corn seemed increasingly obvious. What had begun as an uncomfortable investigation developed into a strong instinct that she needed to get out. Unable to identify what was happening, Dee chose to leave the field. She headed back towards safety, leaving behind the unexplained noises, flattened crops, unusual piles, and shadowy movement she had encountered during the investigation. By the next day, Dee was still attempting to understand what she had experienced. Dense vegetation can make the direction of sounds and movement unexpectedly hard to determine, particularly when visibility is poor. That might explain part of Dee's experience, but perhaps not everything she observed. What do you believe was moving inside that cornfield? The footage follows a father who works as a record representative walking through the woods with his daughter Liana. What starts as a family outing soon develops into something unusual and disturbing. While the father records Liana walking in front of him, a large shape quietly passes through the background. Its movement is easy to miss, yet it appears different from the trees and plants around it. The figure seems to have a human-like form, but it appears considerably larger than an ordinary person. Much of its dark body remains hidden behind the thick vegetation, making its exact appearance difficult to identify. Neither the father nor Liana seems aware that anything unusual is nearby. They continue moving calmly through the forest, apparently unaware of the figure behind them. Only later, after the family watches the recording at home, do they realize that something strange may have appeared in the video. Reviewing the clip again, they spot the dark figure crossing through the background. They study the footage more carefully and compare its estimated height and walking motion with the proportions of an average person. To the family, the figure looks exceptionally tall and broad. Its shape and manner of movement seem similar to familiar descriptions of Bigfoot, the legendary creature frequently linked to isolated forest areas. The discovery leaves the family surprised and intrigued. The recording is too unclear to establish exactly what the figure was. Still, the sighting becomes another mysterious case in the long-standing debate over whether Bigfoot could actually exist. Objects partially blocked by trees may seem larger when no reliable size reference is available, making height and distance difficult to estimate. Was this truly Bigfoot, an unusually large person, or merely a deceptive perspective? On May 24, 2025, outdoor guides with Colorado River Expeditions filmed the encounter while traveling along the upper Colorado River. The footage shows the moment the group realizes that something unusual may be moving across the mountainside above them.
Moving. It was moving, I saw it move.
Yeah, I saw it move too.
It's a berry thing?
The video opens with several rafters steering their boat down the scenic upper Colorado River during their first trip of the season. As they make their way through the canyon, one of the guides notices distinct movement high on the rugged slope across the river. The rest of the group quickly looks toward the hillside while someone uses a phone camera to zoom closer, attempting to identify what is moving among the trees.
No, they can't climb out.
I don't know. I'll go around.
No, okay, it's moving.
Where is it? Do you see it?
Yeah, I do. That brown against the tree.
Dude, it's like hidden in the tree.
Then a dark figure becomes visible. The figure looks extremely tall and appears to stand upright above the surrounding vegetation. It then travels across the steep rocky mountainside with unexpected ease. The difficult terrain would be hard for a person to navigate, and the way the figure seems to move doesn't immediately match what the group would expect from a bear. His apparent height, upright stance, and steady movement make the sight increasingly difficult for the rafters to explain.
Dude, I can't find it in the phone. So he's straight up there.
Here, bear. Here, bear.
There's some rock coming
It's
down.
like waving around.
Is it?
Bigger than a normal size man. Dude. It's creepy.
As the guides keep zooming in, the figure seems to pause briefly on the hillside. From their location on the river, it appears as though the figure may be looking back toward them. The group grows increasingly uneasy while trying to understand what they are watching. The footage later posted by Colorado River Expeditions captures their reactions as they continue observing the figure from the boat. Several recordings of this encounter have appeared online, and this is one of them. Although its original source remains uncertain, the additional footage provides another view of the mysterious figure and helps create a clearer picture of what the group witnessed.
He's not moving like a bear. Oh my goodness.
Guys, come look at the phone. You can see it.
Come in peace.
I'm videotaping right now.
Some air's gonna start flying now again.
He's done.
Phone, you can see it.
Wait, I want to see it in the phone.
I want to see too.
Dude, that's weird.
Definitely. Guys, come look in the phone. You can see it.
At that point, the river no longer feels like much of an escape route. With steep cliffs around them and rushing water beneath the boat, the guides realize they have limited options if the figure were to start coming down the mountainside.
We come in peace.
We come in.
I can't zoom in any more than this.
Distance, steep terrain, and limited visual reference points can cause an object to look larger or move differently than expected. Even so, the figure remains difficult to identify. What do you think the rafters actually recorded? Most Sasquatch sightings are linked to the dense green forests of North America, but this footage suggests that isolated desert regions may hide mysteries of their own. On April 16, 2025, the YouTube channel Desert Sasquatch posted a video titled Bigfoot, standing in front of me, swaying back and forth. The footage was captured in a wooded area near a remote abandoned mine, a place the channel owner had visited before, and where he claims to have previously seen similar creatures. The video opens with a wide shot of a remote rocky desert. He had walked there from his vacation home in the countryside and started recording while moving farther into the forest. At first, however, nothing appeared unusual enough to immediately draw his attention at all.
Okay, I've got a better angle, I think. You see that thing moving?
The footage then changes to a much closer, heavily zoomed shot of the same figure standing among the dry vegetation. From this angle, the creature looks extremely tall, with the researcher estimating that it stands at least 8 feet high.
Something's moving. Something is moving. Freak.
Near the end of the video, sunlight reflects from what appears to be a thick coat covering the figure. Its surface looks greasy and shiny before the creature eventually disappears from view. But there was something he had not noticed at the time. Only after the footage was uploaded and started circulating online did viewers identify something disturbing in the earlier part of the video. According to them, a dark figure they believed might be Bigfoot had already been watching him from deeper within the forest before he noticed it. Tamcow Clip 6.2.
You gotta be kidding me. That's some footage, but that's all I got.
At several points, the figure briefly appears between the trees, while he continues walking without reacting. The man seems completely unaware that anything may be close by. The brief encounter has attracted attention because it appears to show a possible Sasquatch far beyond the dense forests normally connected with these reports. According to researchers who reviewed the footage, the figure's apparent size and realistic appearance make the recording difficult to dismiss as an obvious hoax. Even so, the figure remains difficult to identify. What do you think was moving through the desert? On August 20, 1992, former U.S. Forest Service patrolman Paul Freeman was searching the Blue Mountains of Oregon. For several weeks, he had returned to the area near Duck Spring after discovering large, unusual footprints in the woods. That day, Freeman came across more fresh tracks. He then heard something moving through the brush. Freeman continued recording as the noise drew closer.
This is some of the little ones' tracks that's in here. I come back up here today to cast these. They look like they're about 9 inches long. They're pretty good little tracks. Went right up this old trail. Run around up there to his mommy, I guess.
Then a large dark figure suddenly emerged between the trees. The figure moved upright on 2 legs before vanishing farther into the forest.
32 inches between the stride there. Yeah, I'm gonna look around a little bit more, let these dry. Yeah, it looks like they've been here. I don't know how, it looks like it's pretty fresh. Yeah, go around this bush here, see what's going on here. Oh yeah, here's where, look at that. I hear the brush popping and stuff. Oh, there he goes. Oh, there he goes.
What drew the interest of Bigfoot researchers was its movement. The figure appeared to take long strides, swing its arms low, and carry a large, heavy frame. Its hair also seemed to respond naturally to sunlight.
It should be right here somewhere. Oh, God. There's 2 of them, I guess.
Freeman's son, Mike, later recalled his father's appearance when he came home. He was covered with dirt and sweat. His face looked pale and his body was shaking. Mike said it was the only time he had ever seen his father genuinely frightened. Wildlife biologist Floyd Hayes said the figure did not move like an ordinary bear, which typically travels on 4 legs.
Seems to be a fully functional quadruped walking routinely on its hind legs, and bears only walk short distances on their hind legs. This also seems to have a much flatter face than a bear, which has a much more pointed snout. So I don't think that is a bear. I cannot rule this out as being a Bigfoot.
Anthropologist Dr. Jeff Meldrum also noted its long arms, massive upper body, low-positioned head, and natural-looking hair.
This smallish head set low down on the shoulders with massive musculature. Trapezius coming high up on the back of the head is quite apparent. The length of the arms is impressive. As it swings its arm back, the way the sunlight plays across the hair has a very natural appearance, unlike the scattering effect of faux fur.
Viewer opinions were divided. Some considered the Freeman footage extremely convincing, while others questioned why modern trail cameras have still failed to capture clearer evidence. One viewer wondered whether hair could have been recovered from the tree the figure appeared to brush against. So, what did Paul Freeman actually capture that day? A person, an animal, or something that remains unexplained? The footage was uploaded by YouTube user MoPower08 and has become part of the debate surrounding the Florida skunk ape. This Bigfoot-like creature has reportedly been seen more than 600 times in Florida's swamps since the 1800s. Witnesses often mention its enormous size and a powerful odor. The camera sits low and points across Florida vegetation, including palmetto brush and standing water. In terrain this thick, both visibility and sound can quickly become difficult to track. Voices behind the camera try to steady the shot and bring the tree line into focus. Word of the sighting spreads fast. Vehicles begin pulling over along the road as more people gather near the edge of the vegetation. They scan the scrub, trying to determine what might be concealed within it.
Folks, Tim Fasano here. This is the exact spot where Mike shot the viral video of the Bigfoot that was back there. Give you an idea. There's some people right there. There's my cab. I want to show you something. You should be able to see it. It's like matted grass, like a trail, and it goes here, and it circles around.
For several moments, only the wind moves through the palmetto leaves. This is Mayaka country, a region associated with some of the most debated skunk ape footage ever captured. Then a dark upright form appears near the edge of the frame. It remains partly hidden by the vegetation and could easily be confused with a stump, a shadow, or an effect of the swamp light. The camera remains steady and the shape stays still. Then for roughly 5 seconds, it seems to shift. The movement looks controlled, as if a body is changing position against the surrounding brush. After that short motion, everything becomes still again.
He's up with the group. Stacy's looking for that print.
Only a few seconds of movement are available for viewers to examine. Skeptics point to wind and pareidolia, while believers see possible skunk ape evidence. Did the figure move? Or did the swamp create an illusion? In a segment shown by Travel Channel's Sean Sullivan and his 8-year-old son Brendan recalled a terrifying encounter in the Ouachita National Forest. The incident happened on a cold winter morning in 2014 during an ordinary nature walk. The forest stayed quiet until Brendan paused beside a patch of ice. At that moment, the camera picked up deep, steady breathing coming from somewhere between the trees. The sound appeared unusually heavy and nearby.
Rafe, shh. What is it? Hey, get over here. Get over here, Rafe. What is it? What is that? Stay behind me. What is it? Are you kidding me?
Not long afterward, a low growl was heard. Sean positioned Brendan behind him and scanned the tree line. Through the brush, a dark human-like figure seemed to move between the trees. Realizing that something might be close, Sean urged his son to run.
All right, let's go. Go.
Hi, my name is Brendan Sullivan, and this is Sean Sullivan.
I'm his dad. It was definitely a scary moment. We were probably about 20 or 30 minutes into the walk, and I hear something.
Shh. What is it?
And I see something like a shadow or something in the woods.
They started moving away from the trail, but the figure did not seem to disappear. Instead, it stayed nearby and tracked their movement through the forest.
In the first part of this video, you see something moving off in the distance. The second part of the video, however, there does seem to be a figure hiding behind a tree that can't be a deer because obviously the back end would stick out the other side.
As they attempted to put more distance between themselves and the area, Sean and Brendan stopped and looked back one last time. A large upright figure emerged from behind a thick tree and appeared to look around the trunk toward them. That final glimpse was enough. Sean and Brendan turned and ran out of the forest as fast as they could. Their rapid footsteps filled the recording while they escaped the area. Dense woodland can distort sound and make distant animals seem much closer, while shadows can create human-like forms. Was something actually following them, or did fear turn ordinary forest sounds and movement into something far more unsettling? The footage was posted through BigfootReport.com, operated by Taser Media, a channel that gathers and reviews raw Bigfoot videos submitted by witnesses across North America. The camera is positioned low in a wooded backyard aimed toward dense vegetation beyond the lawn. Palmetto-like brush and heavy growth limit visibility. No one is monitoring the recording live, and nothing unusual is expected to appear from the trees. Then something changes within a gap in the vegetation. A dark, upright figure moves across the opening with a smooth, deliberate stride that does not seem consistent with an animal traveling on 4 legs. Before anyone can respond, the figure vanishes back into the brush. soon appears again. This time, a dark mass seems pressed against its body, affecting its balance as it moves quickly along the yard's edge. The figure appears intent on reaching cover before it can be seen clearly. The footage is later slowed and enlarged. Frame-by-frame viewers study its broad shoulders, loose, rolling gait, and the way its weight shifts from side to side. It remains visible in the opening for almost 30 seconds before disappearing into the vegetation again. A light area on the figure's chest caused some viewers to believe it was carrying something, although it could have been reflected light. Without a clear angle, the question remains, was it holding an object, or was it a camera illusion? That's it for tonight. Which moment creep? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story, share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.